Hello, everyone, and welcome to the David Goodman Reality and Truth Show. I really do appreciate you joining us. I am the host of this show. My name is Vanita Lambert, and I have my monthly co-host, Dr. Sanji Phillips, with me.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, whatever it may be while you're viewing this.
Good
Hello,
evening, because we are on YouTube, and you'll be able to see it anytime during the day, so that's very appropriate. Thank you so much for coming back. How was your holiday?
It was really good. For the first time in a long time, I spent time with family, so that was amazing, and that was for Christmas, and for New Year's, I spent time with friends. So
wonderful.
yeah, that was really great.
That's wonderful.
Something different. Now that we're coming out of COVID, it's very important that we get back to our normal routine of things.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
That is so
and
important.
how about yours?
Mine was nice. It was delayed a little bit because my son had to quarantine. So, and it didn't feel like Christmas. Nobody wanted to open gifts without him. So we opened up our gifts on Tuesday. So that Tuesday was our Christmas.
Okay, wonderful.
It was beautiful. And we spent New Year's with our besties.
Mm-hmm.
We've been friends for over 40 years. Don't want to give away my age too much. We met when we were 1.
Sounds good to me.
So we kind of just hung out, and my son took pictures and then he put them on Facebook, which was really nice. And he had this phrase that went with it, which I'm going to start using. He said, "Family that's friends and friends that's family," and I love that.
Beautiful.
Doesn't it have a nice ring to it? So I'm adopting that. That's going to be our family cliche or whatever. So it was really wonderful. Thank you for asking.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So it's always a pleasure to have you back here. I'm ready to learn whatever it is you want to teach us, and I try to use it. Every time we get together, I try to use it throughout the week.
Well, one of the things that I wanted to discuss today, and I guess our topic for the day will be emotional intelligence.
Okay.
So, yeah, and this is a topic that's very personal to me. It's what I did my dissertation on and coming out of graduate school with my doctorate, and it was how emotional intelligence impacts the worker at different work roles and capabilities. And so, I just want to kind of delve a little bit into it.
Okay, all right, that's good. Can you break that down a little bit for us? Emotional intelligence.
Absolutely.
What all of that means.
Absolutely.
Thank
absolutely.
you.
So what I want to say is, as per our studies, the phrase was first coined by Dr. Goldman. And so one of the things that emotional intelligence, what it is basically in layman's term, is it's pretty much the way that we respond emotionally to stimulus. So so it's the way that we acknowledge how we are interacting with others. It's the way that we present ourselves to others.
Okay.
Right, and so pretty much emotional intelligence kind of tells us what our level of capability is in social instances. So how do I perform and behave in different social settings? What is my ability to impact a group, a team? What is my ability to make social changes and to be able to move forward in a socially appropriate way?
Okay.
Now, one of the things that I want to say is some scientists have indicated that emotional intelligence, the EI score, or EQ score, emotional quotient score, is equal to that of an IQ score when it comes to certain things like in work. So I know for most businesses, it's very important, 2 things. Number one, staff person's core competencies. So how are they able to perform on task, on work performance, on core skills? So they want to know, if I give them this job task to do, how capable are they of doing it?
Okay.
The second thing, which is equally as important, is how are they able to perform as a team?
Oh, yes. Absolutely. That is so important because you have to get along with everyone on the team. and there's so many different personalities and cultures, and that's so important. So continue.
Absolutely. Some employees are now doing emotional intelligence testing during the interview processing.
Okay.
And I know, I saw your face like, we're being tested during interviews. But I'm going to tell you, it's very relevant. I believe it's a good practice. And the reason why I feel it's a good practice is because in an interview process, what we're really looking at is your ability to know the core skills related to the job. So if I ask you, how are you doing with videotaping, you can tell me all of the levels of videotaping, the lighting, the cameras, and I'm like, she's amazing. She really knows her stuff. We've got to get her in here. Okay. But then there's a second component to your job, which comes as your ability to work well with others. Now, and that doesn't really show up on interviews.
No, it doesn't.
No. So you would have to demonstrate your core skills on an interview, and then you're kind of, and then the employer is kind of grading you in regards to that. But when it comes to your emotional intelligence, there's no way to really grade that on an interview unless they present you with something that's going to pull out of you that emotional intelligence. And so what are those things? Those things are things that might set you off, just asking your opinion about certain things, your opinion about certain events that have happened or transpired, and trying to kind of get an idea of what you're like behind the fluff. Because when we go on interviews, it's fluff. It's the fluff. We come in, we put on our good suits, we put on our good clothes, and we practice what we're going to respond. We kind of Google, what what questions are asked on an interview. So we go in and we're a bunch of fluff when we go in and we're presenting at our best. So you don't know who I really am until I get to that desk and that office, and now I'm being given tasks, and now the real me is showing up.
Exactly.
And so, turnover for organizations is very costly. It's very costly to hire employees, bring them in, conduct trainings, and then now have to turn it over because you realize that this person was not a good fit for the organization.
Exactly. So, just a question.
Sure.
I think in some interviews, what's starting to happen now to kind of bring out those your character and what type of person you are, they're asking questions like, what if? You were put in a situation where you're running a restaurant, you're the manager, and you have this big Christmas party coming up, and two of your people call in sick. How do you perform during that situation?
Now, what I want to say is that still, in a matter of speaking, it still can go towards your core skill, because now what the person is going to list is they're going to list their task. Well, first thing I would do is I would call up and see if I have any other staff that are available. The second thing that I would do is I would see, and so now they're listing the core skills of what I would do to mitigate that or to resolve that issue. But what in that same, if we keep in mind that same scenario that you gave, what about if now we ask questions such as, how do you address the employee that called out sick? Or what are your feelings towards that person? This is their third time doing this. And so now that in and of itself may pull out some of the, I get very upset when staff do that, and it really bothers me. And then now we're getting to kind of the core of the emotional intelligence.
Okay.
And even in that, we're just kind of touching the surface, like skimming the surface. If you had a rock or something and you're skimming the water, that's what we would be doing at this point. But it's more along the lines of emotional intelligence in the work site is that inability to pull that staff forward. So we're all operating at this level, and the boss says, you know what, I want to take this organization to the next level.
Okay.
So we want to now operate, we no longer want to operate at the standards, the minimum standards or minimum guidelines. We want to excel. We want to become a pilot organization. We want to become an organization that other organizations look to for leadership and guidance. So now you have, you will get a good glimpse of the emotional intelligence of the people around the table, as some are able to affect that change and others are constantly pulling back. So what does the language now look like around the table?
So are you looking at body language at that point? Like if
So it's body language, but it's more their response and how they receive the information. So if we're sitting around the table and you have people in leadership, and now the people in leadership, anytime you're in leadership, you should not be coming to the table with what the issues are. You should be coming to the table with how do we get around the issues.
Okay.
So you're sitting around the table, and now you're hearing your employees, the leadership around the table, and they're kind of saying, well, that's not going to work because. And we've tried that before, and it failed because. Now, as leadership, you should never come to the table,
ever.
Identifying the ways in which we're going to fail, the things that are not going to work, but you can say, we've tried that before, and these are the boundaries that we face, but maybe if we do it in this way, we can affect a better change. I read in a study when I was doing my dissertation that only 40% of people are willing to accept change, and only, I think it was somewhere around 20%, and I don't have the stats or my resources, so I'm just kind of throwing out numbers right now, which I normally don't do. But a very small percentage of people are actually willing to see change through. Change is difficult, change is hard. Now, when we look at emotional intelligence around change, what is it that we're saying around that change? Are we encouraging to the people around us? So I know that I'm a senior supervisor and you're a supervisor. Am I encouraging you saying, yeah, this looks like it's going to be a lot of work, but we can do it. We've gone through this before. This is, we've gone through challenges. We've gone through changes of administration, and we've always landed on top, so we can do this. Am I creating energy, an atmosphere within the team that's encouraging and building and manifesting change, or am I the lead person saying, they always giving us something new to do, I don't know how we're going to do this, if it ain't one thing, it's another. What language am I speaking into the team, and what language am I speaking into the group?
And I think that is just a key element. Language, how you speak to a person, what you say to a person, especially in leadership, because attitude is a clear reflection of leadership. If you're always being positive, then they have no choice but to be positive. But if you're negative, like you just said, I don't think that's going to work, and so on and so forth, then they're going to think it won't work. So you got to create positive energy, positive language, and positive words. I think that's so important.
Absolutely.
And I think if you tell a person, even if a person has never been a supervisor before, and say they worked at a company, and say for example this company has just been bought out, and the previous owner said to them, you're never going to be a supervisor because you're always late and this, that, and the other, and then you get the new supervisor to come in and say, listen, you've been at this company the longest. You know the most. Show me A, B, and C. And I could see you as being my manager, my right hand. Do you think that would change that person's whole persona, everything? So that's...
Yes. So I want to say, changing the environment, changing what we speak into people, absolutely changes people. Now, what I want to say is, the person themselves would have to establish a greater level of emotional intelligence, a higher level of emotional intelligence to maintain it. So it can be very short-lived. So right now, I just told you, I think you're...
I'm thinking, okay, this is working.
So no. Don't be discouraged. Don't be discouraged.
Always talk positive.
Right, absolutely.
Always
talk positive, always encourage. These are the things that we can speak to our staff that will help them to be encouraged and will do greater, put forth greater work ethics. Now, what's going to maintain it? It's going to be maintaining that work atmosphere. It's going to be making sure that that same energy is continual in the workforce, in the work site.
And that's where the training comes in.
That's where the training comes in. And so, you've heard the saying from years ago, one bad apple can spoil a whole bunch, or, whatever the saying is.
That's it.
But, so that's why organizations are cautious to make sure that anyone that they're bringing into the organization, that they kind of fit the culture of the organization, and that's a word that we hear a lot more of now, fitting into the culture of the organization. And what that basically means is we have a standard way of how we do things, and we work together, and we have an energy that we all kind of drive off of or thrive off of, and we don't want to bring a spoiled apple or a rotten apple into that culture. And now everyone is being affected by that atmosphere that is now changing the entire culture of the agency.
Right, okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I see.
So, yes.
That's important. You have to, so that's what it means to have that type of synergy going with the person that you're bringing in. And that's what you want to create, a synergy, synergy, whatever, with the right person.
Sorry, go ahead.
And so, I mean, a person could, how would they, so, I mean, I see what you're saying, and I see, I'm trying to explain what I'm feeling here. We also have a list that we can give the person that's interviewing us for even, seeing if we fit the culture, seeing if we have the right attitude or the right response or what have you.
Right.
But like you said, how do you maintain it? How do you maintain that level of positivity, energy, or what have you?
So you have to keep it going by frequent workforce development training. I think that is so key.
Okay.
And in all of my years of work, I've come to realize that when we don't prepare staff, then they're unable to work comfortably in their task. So it's about training, it's about empowering, it's about giving knowledge to staff, it's about being understanding. One of the things that often happens is a lot of times employers salaried employees. Employers are okay with them working way into the night, nighttime hours and calling in on the weekends and working, during hours beyond their 40 hours. But if they come in late, now they're being written up. So it's about building a culture, and I'm not saying that everyone should allow employees to come in late, but it's about recognizing your employees and recognizing, so if that person just was working up until 10 o'clock last night, providing support in a difficult case with maybe a parent and child case, and so they actually weren't able to resolve it until around 10 o'clock last night, and then the next morning they come in 20 minutes late. I don't know that we should acknowledge the fact that they came in late 20 minutes, over acknowledging that we appreciate the additional 5 hours they put in last night.
Exactly.
And ensuring that this case was secure.
So you're talking about a salaried employee. You're not talking about an hourly.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So yeah, they should, something like that, they would have to establish that communication up front.
Right.
And
that's
so
the culture. That's the
and
culture
so you're
of the
talking about
agency.
Continuous training, which makes sense. So you would have to have quarterly training sessions for something like this. What do you mean by continuous training?
I am talking about
daily?
So I'd like the training should be happening in what we call in vitro, in the environment in which it's occurring contemporaneously, continually. So as
every
management,
day,
yes,
continually? Okay.
So
I'm thinking training sessions like quarterly, weekly, or
so we can
monthly.
definitely do much larger quarterly trainings where we speak towards the agency and where the agency is going, and give that type of information. But there should be a minimum of a monthly coaching and mentoring session where the employee can sit one-on-one with their supervisor, and you can tell me how I'm doing. You can tell me about last week when I was working with one individual, when I took a call, and you can be very pointed towards what the work that I'm doing, and that's through the coaching and mentoring. That should happen at least once a month for every single employee of an agency.
So one supervisor on one employee. Oh, okay.
And then
that seems time consuming now.
It is, but it's valuable in the end because it produces a valuable quality employee. And then aside from that, there should be like a weekly training. So every week, maybe every Thursday at 10 o'clock, the program site should be getting together to discuss things going on around the house. Because other than that, they come out as rumors. So unless the supervisor come and address changes that are going on in the house and the agency or the programs, everyone is just kind of like, did you hear? Did you hear? Did you? No, I didn't hear that, but I heard, and everything is coming out as rumors unless everything is being set in order, and that should be done pretty regularly. So even when rumors are coming, they know that they can say, well, I don't know, but I'm sure we're going to discuss it on Thursday. So I'll wait and I'll see what's going on.
That's very important.
Yeah, that can be established. The other thing, even with the emotional intelligence, is it's the way that I interact. Do I see the impact I'm making in your life? So when I say things, everyone wants someone that's really upfront and honest about most things and all things, but how are you taking it when I'm upfront and I'm honest? And it's my ability to be able to discern that I probably shouldn't have said it in that way because I feel like I might have hurt her feelings, or I feel like I might have allowed her to be discouraged by what I said.
Well, I would ask. I would ask, would you mind if I'm just completely blunt here?
Right.
And, depending on their answer, that's how I would proceed. But I think this type of training is not just for on the job. What I'm seeing every time I get with you, I try to incorporate this into my personal life. What you're talking about is, and I'm thinking about my oldest son, how just sitting with him, I'm the supervisor, he's the employee. When he was at a very young age, he was very mischief, I'll say. And I would always just, discipline him. And then I decided to ask him one day, what is it that you don't like about me? And I'm talking to, he was under 10, I forget the age. And he said, you never listen to me.
Aww.
And so I could see what you're talking about, working in a home environment with just a family. This is how we should talk to our children and train them on a daily basis. Talk to them, listen to them, and then kind of put whatever they feel at that age, whether it's 10, 20, or whatever, make sure that you really hear that and make sure that you let them know that that's not going to happen again if it's something that's really bothering them. And then you start to build that relationship.
Right.
You do it with your husband, with your cousins, or with your family. So I could see this working in a family because I don't have a business of employees like you do. So you see it a different way. And if the audience could see that with their family, whether their children have disabilities or challenges or anything like that, it could work with just a normal family. You don't have to have any disability. So I told you I learned something from this woman every week, and I incorporate it into my own personal life, and I really do appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Wow.
And and it's the same thing like what you would do with your son. It's about changing behavior, and the way that we change behaviors is due to consequences. And so there must be immediate consequences for behaviors that we want to eliminate.
Yep.
And I'll just use as an example Dunkin' Donuts. If my behavior every morning is going to Dunkin' Donuts for a large coffee, if I go to Dunkin' Donuts and and I just love, and I'm not a coffee drinker, but if that's something I just love, and so I go there every morning for a large coffee, and then they shut down the Dunkin' Donuts, or someone is in there and they don't make the coffee right, that's going to alter my behavior. There was an immediate consequence to to my behavior that resulted in a change. So yeah.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm like you said before, I'm a firm believer in speak the way you feel or speak your outcome. Like I got up this morning and I just said, before anything occurred, and I'm up at like sometimes 4:30, 5 o'clock, today is going to be a great day. And I didn't know how it was going to happen, but so far today has been a great day.
Oh.
You know?
And then you get to spend some time with me.
You know what? And I didn't know that I was going to see you today because we
Right.
were not scheduled to
Right.
see each other today. So it's great. And then I'm going to see Tyree, and it's going to get even greater. And then we're going out to lunch.
Oh,
And
yes.
it's just going to get better and better. So today is a great day, and I wanted to have a great day. So I spoke what I wanted to happen. And I think that if you can understand what I'm trying to say,
Oh,
if
absolutely.
if you tell yourself, even with the worst employee, that I am going to make this work, I am going to change this person, and I'm going to affect change in this person, you know, just by speaking to her and making her feel positive all the time. Okay, so we have about 2 minutes left.
Okay.
And I know all my questions suck up all of your time.
Oh, no.
But please, what would you like to leave us with for the last 2 minutes of the show is
Okay.
yours.
So, the last 2 minutes. Okay. So what I'd just like to speak about emotional intelligence, and just for each and every one of us to kind of look towards emotional intelligence, define what it means to you, and then allow it to affect a change in your life and for those around you, because it is extremely important, because it goes towards the way that we speak to others, the way that we manage others, the way that we affect changes in the lives of others. And if we're speaking towards children, absolutely, there is a difference. If you find a parent with a high emotional intelligence score, you see a child that is developmentally stable and able to adapt to social norms and to adjust well. So if you're a new parent, just kind of define that, look it up, or you can kind of look me up at BrysonAssociates.com. You can call me. I have no problem with having conversations. I am a conversationalist when it comes to managing behaviors and quality of life, developing quality of life for each and every one of us. So
That's a beautiful thing. And please follow us on YouTube. And you can also join her websites on Monday and Wednesday. At
parenting, yes.
BrysonAssociates.com.
Yes, look us up there. We have parenting training every Monday and Wednesday from 10 to 11:30.
Exactly. And on that note, words matter. Speak kindly to people. This is the David Goodman Reality and Truth Show, and we're on your side.